Have you ever seen a skyscraper during a big earthquake? It looks like it should fall down, but it stays standing. Most people think a tall building stays up because it is stiff and strong. But being stiff is actually a bad thing. If a building is too stiff, it will snap like a dry stick when the ground shakes. To survive, a skyscraper has to be smart. It has to move with the earth instead of fighting against it. This is why engineers use amazing tricks to make buildings dance. Today on Behind the Basics, we are looking at how the world's tallest towers stay safe when the ground starts to move. We will talk about giant balls, rubber pads, and flexible steel. You won't believe how simple these ideas really are. Let's look at the science of earthquake proofing together right now. The first way a building stays safe is by being flexible. Imagine a tall tree in a storm. It bends in the wind but does not break. Skyscrapers work the same way. They are built with a skeleton made of steel. Steel is very special because it can bend quite a lot without snapping. When an earthquake happens, the ground moves back and forth very fast. If the building was made of just stone or brick, it would crack immediately. But because of the steel frame, the building can sway like a giant spring. This swaying actually helps the building soak up the energy from the shaking ground. Inside the building, there is also a very strong center called a core. This is like the building's spine. It is usually a big tube of thick concrete. While the steel frame lets the building bend, the concrete spine keeps it from falling over too far. It is a perfect balance. The building is strong enough to stand up straight, but soft enough to move when it has to. Engineers also leave gaps between buildings. This way, if two towers start to sway, they will not hit each other. This simple idea of bending instead of breaking is the most important part of building a safe skyscraper. Without it, none of these tall towers could survive even a small earthquake. By using materials that can stretch and move, we can build higher than ever before while staying safe from the moving earth below us. It is all about working with nature instead of trying to stop it completely. This design makes sure the people inside are safe even during a massive shake. Now, let's talk about the coolest part, the giant ball. If you go to the top of some very tall buildings, you will see a massive gold ball hanging from cables. This is called a damper. It is basically a giant weight that acts like a stabilizer. When a big earthquake hits, the building starts to lean to one side. Because the giant ball is so heavy and is hanging, it does not move as fast as the building. It starts to swing in the opposite direction. If the building leans right, the ball pulls it to the left. This counterweight stops the building from swaying too much. It is like having a giant friend holding the building steady. This ball can weigh as much as 700 tons. That is as heavy as several jumbo jets. It is not just for earthquakes either. It also helps when strong winds blow against the tower. Without this weight, the top of the building would move so much that people inside would feel seasick. By using this simple gravity trick, engineers can cancel out the energy of the earthquake. The building still moves, but it moves in a controlled way that keeps the structure safe. It is one of the smartest inventions in modern building history. It shows that sometimes, adding more weight is actually the best way to keep things light and safe. This giant pendulum is a perfect example of how basic physics can solve some of the world's biggest engineering problems. Every time the earth shakes, this massive weight is hard at work keeping everything balanced and secure. It is truly an amazing feat of modern technology. The next trick is at the very bottom of the building. It is called base isolation. Imagine if you put a building on a giant skateboard. If the ground moves, the skateboard just rolls back and forth while the building on top stays still. Engineers do something very similar. They put the skyscraper on top of giant pads made of rubber and lead. These pads are very squishy and strong. Instead of the building being bolted directly into the hard rock of the earth, it sits on these soft pads. When the earthquake starts, the ground slides side to side, but the rubber pads soak up the movement. The building stays mostly still while the earth moving underneath it just slides. This is like the suspension system on your car. It makes the ride smooth even when the road is bumpy. By separating the building from the moving ground, we can stop the earthquake energy before it even reaches the floors where people are. This is one of the best ways to protect buildings. It is a simple way to disconnect a tower from the violent movements of a massive earthquake. It helps save lives and keeps the building from cracking when the earth starts to move. So, how does it all work together? It is a mix of three simple things: bending steel, swinging weights, and rubber pads. The steel lets the building move, the giant ball keeps it balanced, and the pads at the bottom stop the ground from shaking the whole structure. When an earthquake happens, all these parts work as a team. They turn a scary disaster into a controlled movement. Science allows us to live in these giant towers safely because we understand how energy moves. We don't try to stop the earth, we just find ways to stay steady while it moves. It is an amazing example of how humans can use the basics of physics to build a safer world for everyone. Engineering is not just about being strong, it is about being smart and knowing when to bend. This is the truth. Skyscrapers are proof that even the biggest problems have simple solutions. By understanding how the earth moves, we can build towers that reach the clouds without fear. If you liked learning about how these giant buildings stay safe, please hit the like button and subscribe to Behind the Basics. We have plenty more simple breakdowns coming your way. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.